Kettering and Huber Heights schools, their proximity is approximately what we had in '65. So they were walkable neighborhood schools. When we rebuilt, we lost schools, but of course we've got a lower population of enrollment. But my point is, if we cut more schools, we make it harder for people to walk to them, to safely make sure the students get back and forth, and you make it difficult in all kinds of ways for family and the neighborhood.
The red dots are
the red are present day schools.
Right, and the blue?
The blue were from '65.
Okay.
So, and you can see it's much denser, and again, we had many more students at that point. And we probably had more students in each school at that point.
Right.
They were packed.
Yeah, well, Roosevelt was a huge school.
Yes, yeah, 2,000 or 3,000, something like that.
Right.
So anyway,
all right.
I'm going to leave.
He's safe in that classroom. Class sizes. So I guess
you don't want them trying to pack every room with 30 kids. Just to move forward.
Having enough staff to support whatever the class size is. Yes, special ed, support staff, nursing, counseling.
Administration.
We'll give you a second, right?
Okay, you volunteered.
Established relationships. That's, I taught here 23 years ago, so we want to kind of have a relationship.
I'm sorry, I know some other people.
I'm a grandmother. One of my granddaughters went to a charter school. My concern is when she went from the charter school, she was 1 year ahead of the public school. And I'm worried about that. Are they going to be on the same speed? Are they going to examine new ways of teaching? Like some do the Pullman type math, and we're not doing that here. And so our kids are not getting exposed to a lot of the changes that's going on. So it was like she just spent a year kind of wasting time because she was already ahead. So that's my concern when they start shifting people around.
So you're concerned about your granddaughter being able to
I don't have answers.
Okay,
Okay, but that's a question you have, and I will write that question down. Wherever the students go and wherever the teachers go, and will they still have jobs?
Right.
Okay, gotcha. So in the meantime, the question is, what is the biggest hope you have for the change decision?
Tom, I don't understand the question. Does that mean we want Meadowdale to stay open? Is that what you mean?
That's our hope.
Or that's what we hope the change decision is?
That don't change, don't close any of the schools.
And I'm not, when I reiterate something, I'm not at all questioning you guys. I'm reiterating to make sure that we are all on the same page. So as part of that quality education, you would say, making sure that every teacher that teaches in Dayton Public Schools has at least a bare minimum of a bachelor's degree. And that stands for?
In the area that they're teaching, if it's elementary education, if it's elementary math.
But not too full.
Right. We don't want to overfill.
Yeah. So one would hope that wouldn't be the case, but
Right. Because it really takes away from children being able to learn when it's overcapacitated, like when it's just too many, and the teachers, that's too much.
the teachers this is what I came to.
That's true. Simultaneously, I think that we'll be able to get everybody's information. I hear what you're saying.
What I'm afraid about, this is why
You don't want us to waste your time.
No, we're like at a place where we need answers more than we want to discuss the unknown.
Yeah.
And like you as a parent, my wife is really wrestling. It's like, in June, because we don't know what year, do I pull all four of my kids out and send them somewhere. That's the mindset that is from my whole neighborhood is the same way. And so I am keeping them calm by giving, I don't have any information to give them.
Yeah. So what we're doing in this, so this is the first of the two quadrant stakeholder meetings that we're having. And what we're doing with each of the individual schools is we're meeting with them one school at a time. We've had 5 of those meetings already, and we've got a couple more scheduled for next week. So we go to all of the buildings. The principal sent out robocalls and letters, and there were some phone trees going on with some of them, so we could get the parents to come in. And those were meetings where we did sit down. We said, this is what we're facing. These are the numbers we're looking at. This is enrollment. This is what got us here. So I think I'm hearing your frustration that we didn't have that here at this one as well to give us some answers before we start asking questions.
But what I also want you to do is to see if what you said was the means of communication.
Yeah.
My nephew goes to these meetings.
Yeah.
My sister didn't even know about the meeting.
She didn't know about it?
She said there was a sign on a window.
So she didn't get
They didn't
a
get a
robocall or a letter?
Because TJ Brown was
meeting so far.
It's been low.
So
It's been low.
that's
I
tough.
talked to the principals and they said we sent out robocalls, we sent out letters. And
Has it
I
been
asked-
like similar to these numbers?
No, this is large.
So then it's like you don't take advantage of this crowd.
I mean, it's part of the larger question of how do you communicate with parents? I would ask the parents that were there and say, how did you know about this? And they say, oh, we got the letter in the mail and we got the robocall and so-and-so called me. And if the principal says we sent these letters out to everybody, we did the robocall to everybody, it's part of the larger conversation of how do we contact parents and make sure that they are getting the information that they want to get and we want them to get, which is
the children were being beat up by my student. I mean, he was a 10.
So you went out of your way to help?
Yes, and the bus driver was, and I found out that her nerves got better when this child stayed in the seat, and that bus turned out to be a better bus ride than the other students. But it takes being proactive, and it takes time trying to find out what's the real problem. Now, what's the solution? And I found out he loved Batman. I went broke buying Batman stuff. But everybody's child got home safe. No one got scratched. No one got hurt. So if bus drivers can work with the teacher and say, I know I don't allow it, but for this child, I will.
So for question number 1, do we feel okay enough that we could move on? I think these 5 things that we've highlighted are good points. And
yes.
Does that sound okay?
Yes.
As far as if they shut Meadowdale down, bring another school in here, what's going to happen to the students that are in here?
So you guys have concerned with this questions aren't here, and if they shut it down, if they shut this school down, what's going to happen to the kids?
Right, because the rumors out that they're bringing another school in here, and all the children that are here are going to be asked to leave.
Right. So what does that leave ours? So I think that could fit.
One of the biggest fears. Yeah, that's a fear
I think that could fit in number 3 if you would agree.
I mean, because I'm kind of worried, because we're the incoming school, but you guys are here. And us parents at Valerie, we feel for you, because if this was us being kicked out of our school, we'd be upset.
So one of your fears, one of your fears is that if Meadowdale, for example, or shuts down,
right,
what will happen to the kids? So
to
not,
the students.
To the students. So
That's
not
correct.
knowing about what will happen to the students if the school closes down. Does that capture it?
It does, because the parents here, not that I know any of them, they're important. And a lot of parents care because they're here for their students. Just like I'm here for Valerie, because we want to know what's going on and what is being told to the people and the parents and the students in Meadowdale. So that's mainly why I'm here.
What's happening here affects you too.
It does.
As to what's actually going to happen with the kids in the community.
huge concern.
Sort of a sense of community.
Well, and then to answer your question a little more for me, what message are we sending to the students? So if the students are, already kind of uncertain because of the teachers, not enough teachers or what have you, what message are we sending to them by just closing all of the schools and then shipping them out to various locations? Where's that stability for them? And then in their community, when you have after-school programs, you have parents that work. 10, 15-minute commute to a different location, then that will eliminate maybe a lot of after-school programs, a lot of athletic programs. It just would cause more of students have to go home straight after school and then sitting idle because they don't have the transportation to get home, with that 15-20-minute commute back and forth to school and things like that. If we say
if you're not happy and you're dissatisfied, then you're not going to come to work. You don't feel valued. So you got to create the environment that has to be created from the leadership standpoint is that to create a value-added type of environment for our teachers to be able to feel supported, and also having the necessary tools and resources available. So if I get all those things, I'm fairly happy. But if I'm not getting them, guess what's going to happen? We're going to have a dying need for an increase in substitute teachers.
So the next one, we're going to go to number 3. You got all?
Well, I got the notes, but we're going to come down to, okay, so these are the notes that I have to capture. Create a plan and stick with it. Stop changing. Okay. Substitute teachers not following curriculums that teachers leave behind. But then we said that's a larger issue. Create an environment that teachers feel supported so they'll be here every day.
Right.
Okay. So out of those 3, how do we want to make that into one statement?
I like just the way you read it.
So you want me to put it all? I
like it. I don't know if everybody else agrees with it.
I'll put it all on here. Did you? Well, what we could do is.
Like make a bullet.
You were really correct when you said the substitutes not following curriculum, but you said if we create the environment, then it will reduce the need for subs. So do you want to go with the first thing you said, and then the second thing, and create that into one statement?
That's fine.
Okay, then I will do that. Do you want me to put where teachers and students feel supported? Because somebody else was talking about how students felt. I want to make sure I capture that.
got issues where families are now looking for places to be able to get jobs. Then you're looking for a place where there are schools. Yes.
Chasing jobs.
Chasing jobs. Okay, we got plenty of time, folks. We're still talking about what do you hope the district will consider? What do you hope the district will consider?
So the next question.
We're still on 4. We still got time. We got until 7 o'clock, right? We got plenty of time.
Yeah, it's only 6:37.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. Anybody who hasn't spoken yet?
Okay, I'll put some over there.
What do you hope?
What impact will it have in the decision-making process? Here, let me give you what I did up. Hey, David. I'm going to hold on to your number here.
Yeah, please do.
But, I went back and looked at the original numbers for Wagaman.
Right.
And so I kind of broke down what, is being touted officially this year. And so this is basically the questions that I would like to have more discussion on. And then I have the original things that I printed off that came from the planning committee and so on 15 years ago. So, but I don't see, when are we going to be able to have that for?
Good question. See, because I'm thinking that on the 13th, this proposal will come before the review. Will become as part of the
review session next month. But the public isn't allowed to speak.
Right.
And then you're voting on it theoretically at the March board meeting, business meeting.
Right.
And clearly I could come up and speak about it then, but it's like moot.
Well, but I think that technically we should have another meeting on the table. So let's see if we can at least create something so that the community can come and speak
outside of the script.
Right. And review the data.
Because these are good questions. It was pretty interesting last night to be able to talk about them, but there are things that are important outside of how should we manage the process.
Absolutely.
Which is what these questions.
They have like a million kids, and maybe this school would only have not as many. And most of it is choice.
Right, to what's available.
I said most districts you don't have a choice where you go.
You go to the school that's closest to
Our choice is nice, and I think that in a lot of cases here it is important. And the parents need that sense of security to have that choice. But I think it's not always a luxury. It's not like they're in college or that you can offer, especially in a situation like this. The easier it is for me to say,
What about, for me, I want to see if we were to close, an easy transition for staff. Just me being here so long, I've watched a lot of people come from other schools that are sent sort of at the last minute, maybe in a position where they're not familiar with, and they're just kind of thrown to the wolves, versus making sure they have adequate training early enough. Like somebody like me, if I was to have to go back in the classroom, and you're going to put me somewhere like 8th grade, I'd probably fall out. What are you going to do to ensure that I have the proper resources, the proper training early enough so that I don't flop day one going back in the classroom?
And I think along with that, there's a culture to the staff that's critical. And that's one thing that we've worked so hard to establish here, the staff culture. Just what time to establish between one another.
other things that about our ideal school, what it looks like? Any other thoughts about that one, or are we good for what our ideal school sounds like or looks like? Got that one? All right. And number 6, as a district, how can we make this transition as smooth as possible for your family?
It's not going to happen.
Number 6. So first thought is, can't happen. As a district, how could we, Dayton Public Schools, make this transition as smooth as possible for your family?
Hard move. The thing is, we just built these schools, brand new. We spent millions of dollars building these brand new schools. At that point in time, when they were about to build the school, did they not know about the attendance?
Gotcha. So first thing is you want to be in agreement with these accommodations, these moves, these things that the school board is doing. Right. Number 1. What else you thinking?
Make it timely.
Timely
home with the ones that just don't. I know we don't want to take risks, and some parents aren't able to.
Yeah.
They just really aren't able to. And to be honest, sometimes I have to Google what my granddaughter.
So you're all shaking your heads up and down.
Yeah.
So this would be a program that will help students. Well, how do you want to say it? A study hall.
Yes, where
after school, but that's only going to be after school tutoring.
Right.
But that's only going to last for
right,
so long.
an in-school study hall where students who don't get help at home with their homework can receive that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So if that makes
That's awesome.
All right, you good with that, Brooke? You got it going there? Okay, good. It's all very good. All right, we got one more question. As a district, how could we make this transition as smooth as possible for your family? As smooth as possible for your family.
Keep our school here.
Keep us informed.
Yes,
okay,
definitely
good.
Keep our school here.
Communication is a virtue.
And keep our school remaining.
So point number 1, keep us informed.
Just like they have the lockdown procedures or whatever.
So lockdown procedures.
Right. And just teaching the kids safety, period.
How about we talk about bullying?
Right.
The kids are bullied.
Well, they're bullied. These
Have
things
a
need to be
culture
talked
where,
about.
yeah.
There's a lot of threats going around.
So lockdown procedures, teach the kids about bullying.
Just safety all together. What to look for, what not to,
So bullying education, we'll put it at bullying education.
We also need to deal with behavioral children that disrupt the class to where the other students can't learn and the teachers can't teach. And that comes along with large class sizes also.
When you say what, like safety training, so like what happened? What kind?
Teacher here?
What kind of safety training?
Mr. Hampton.
Is he here?
Yep.
She said we're gonna.
City right here, right? I live in the city, right? And I'm not afraid to walk the streets to see them on my block. And, and I talk to young kids. You know what I'm saying? And some of the young kids, they come up and give me a hug because they don't know. I agree with you on that.
I got boys in my school. I've never seen them go. Right. I seen their mom.
Right.
Or the ones that bring.
Yeah, my neighbors.
Never seen them.
Yeah. Like guys like me, my age, actually, I'm 68, right? You won't see them on
lot of good positive stuff that happens in schools, but the stories never told.
So just the negative stories are told in the media and not the positive stories.
I'll give you a perfect example. About a month ago, we had the Martin Luther King program. No media was there. Nobody was there to see children receive their awards. No.
Welcome back. What was your name?
Maddie.
I'm sorry?
Maddie.
Maddie? Good to meet you. I'm Nilofer.
I met you.
Oh, we met. Okay. No, oh, you were here for that. Okay. So more positive publicity.
Not just reporting on negative things that go on in the schools.
Any other thoughts on what your ideal school would look like? Maddie, give a thought? what your ideal school would look like? This is the wish list. We're putting down the wish list.
Children would be actively engaged by high quality teachers.
So children are actively
resources would be available for teachers to engage or to do quality instruction. The climate would be conducive to teaching and learning. Administrators would be knowledgeable. She asked me for lunch. Administrators would be knowledgeable.
Okay.
And practice rapport, relationship building, and relevancy in their leadership. Everybody in the building, all the way down to the food service workers and the custodians, would understand children and child development. People would know how to reach out to resources to be able to meet the needs of the children in the school. Do I stop now?
Just give you a chance to catch up.
Saturday, so we'll gather for breakfast just to discuss and talk about like what the committee has been doing. I think what's most important though is we move forward from Saturday is we just figure out what like the community is more invested in. If we can get more feedback from there, I think whatever we provide to the school board, specifically to the superintendent, we feel as informed as possible. So they are doing their job by having these, but we need to be doing our job by figuring out ways to get to people that they're not getting to here. So I think it's going to be important that we have another large meeting, similar to what we had in January, because that brought out, there had to be at least 4 or 5 times the numbers that are in this room. So we need as much feedback on this topic as possible. Yeah, I think that's what I value most. But yeah, Saturday we can discuss some more. Yeah, but I haven't talked to the committee yet about what the agenda will be for Saturday, but I think that if nothing else, we should just talk about the meeting that we plan for March, whatever.
Okay. So, okay, you got that one? You two want to add something? I agree with you.
Okay. I like to add a couple things too, in order to help keep it open. Because if we start closing buildings, then again the kids are going to travel to charter schools. Some's going to drift to public schools, and we're going to lose the head count. So my thought is, if we could create a technical environment for tech schools, because right now I was a former AD over opponents, and we have a waiting list every year of people trying to get in. If you don't get in, you go to Meadowdale, you go to Belmont, you go to third year. But their desire is to get into the tech program. So we're blocking. We're not providing an opportunity for those kids to get in those tech programs. There are people who are going to charter schools who like to get into a technical program. So we need to, say for example, take Meadowdale and expand, clone what we're doing over opponents, and make that opportunity available for everybody. Or, and also in doing, we need to, again, instead of create a positive environment for learning, we need to expand our arts program. We're right now trickling in music back into our schools, but we don't have art, we don't have workshop economics, we don't have any of those things like that that keep.
Should we let Pam do it? She can read her writing?
Pam would probably, she probably will not want to do it. But I bet Mr. Caldwell will do it. Speak for the group.
Look, he like he was whoosh. Whoosh.
Going to meetings like a lot of these kids do. I might not have money as a teenager to get on the RTA and go over to Cleveland or go over to Kent. So it's going to create a problem. So that's one of my biggest fears.
So a huge fear is the fact that it's going to cost you more money that you don't have, more time that you don't have. And it's going to cause emotional stress, emotional distress when they're sending kids to somewhere where they're unfamiliar.
There's a lot of kids dealing with adult issues as children. And I don't think they understand that.
Also, I think the teachers need more training on strategies for just working with different kids. And what strategies are you using if a kid is on ADD or AHD?
Right.
You're yelling and screaming at them instead of working with them and trying to see, what's the background? Why are you doing this? But you're yelling and screaming at the kids to sit down, sit down, sit down. Give them something extra to do. Let them hand out papers. Let them wipe off the board while you.
That's why I think they
when
need to
you're
double up
transitioning
on
between classes.
They need to double up.
That's how you can see where.
I think that's just a training.
So additional training for teachers would be something that you could use or that you could see in a better school.
Work now, play later.
It seems like it actually encompasses a lot of what you all talked about, which is the idea of the transition being a challenging part of the decision. So the final question is, as a district, how can we make this transition as smooth as possible for your family?
Information. Open communication.
And like the idea that Miss Connie had, having some type of function, that introduces the parents and the teachers and the students, just something like a carnival or something like that, so that everyone can interact with each other, and it's not such a hard transition of going into the unknown. Just some kind of change is very hard. So some kind of community gathering that's introducing you to the building, giving you tours of the building, letting you know, this grade is going to be in this hall, this is where your classrooms are going to be, so that the parents and the students are comfortable with whatever new surrounding they're going to be.
I would say I'm a psychiatrist. I'll be back in psychiatry. I think you've really spoken from your hearts and captured some good stuff here. So anything else you want to get in? We may have one more minute.
I haven't heard you say a word. And don't tell me I'm taking all of what you want to say.
You didn't take
But she's a parent and she's very like involved
I heard
with
a
her
lot of
children.
amens over
Yeah,
here.
because she is really involved with her children here.
Because I come here
Yes.
and bring my kids
Yes.
to be here.
Yes.
So I agree.
That's all right. Very involved. Good. Very involved.
We'll start with the tables up in the front and we'll pass the microphone to whoever the speaker is. If you can just highlight a few important points, and if there are repeated points, just say that you had some of the same types of points identified that were listed before. So we'll start with this table over here. Who's the reporter for over here? Okay. We have a untold person.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you all. This is very supportive, very nice. I'm proud to be here as a parent, part of the community, and also being involved in the schools. So, with our table discussion, you know, we went on a range. We had a range of topics. I think we stepped off topic in some cases, but we narrowed it down. So our first topic was the transition. What are we transitioning to? So one of our questions that we were asked was, how do we feel about the transition? And my team can help me if I'm mistaken, but what are we transitioning to? Because it was under our impression that the decision was not made. So if the decision was not made, what are we preparing to transition to? That was a question and a concern. And then that coupled with, what message are we sending to our students and the community? Because with the students, the first message, and this was brought up at the table, you know, when we, as a school, when we lowered the GPA, that sent a message that we are lowering our expectations of them. If we keep our expectation high, the students will meet our expectations. It was also noted that we have some very successful people that have graduated from Dayton Public School System. So why are we now lowering and continue to lower the expectation of our students that we know that they can reach? So what message are we sending to them, telling them first it's okay that if you get a 1.0 you can't even go to a community college. Now we're going to remove all of the buildings that were named from your community. That was another message to the students. The community is already suffering in some points. You know, a lot of the companies are gone. A lot of the, businesses are gone. It's kind of deploring. So what message now are we sending to our students if now their schools are gone? They have to commute 15, 20 miles or, minutes to a location. And then parents, our community, our parents, we want more parent involvement, but if we have parents that are working, late hours and already having it difficult to pick up their children from school, now they have to commute miles just to pick them up. So then that will eliminate activities, after school programs, and things of that nature. And then finally, the last one was, equity.
That we have to.
So we want to continue, and we, first and foremost, this table wants to say that we applaud our teachers. We have some absolute wonderful teachers in Dayton Public Schools. We also have some absolute wonderful administrators in our Dayton Public Schools. But our students and our families are the reason that we have Dayton Public Schools. So if we are not closing the schools, and I guess another question was, and I'm going to pass the mic, I got too friendly, but another question was, we didn't know that this was even an issue. When the issue was brought to our attention, the community's attention, it was just blatantly, okay, these schools are closing. We had no idea. So that was alarming to the community, because if there was, we all know that there may be some issues, but when it was presented to the community, it was just a list of schools that are now possibly closing. So that was hard to swallow. So again, the question, what are we transitioning to? Is this already set in stone? Are we, this was brought at the table, not me. Are we pacifying the community with these meetings to just simply say, okay, well, we gave you your time to speak? And most importantly, what messages are we sending to the students?
Thank you.
Okay, this table. Okay, at our table, our top 3 concerns, and you did very well, thank you. You encompassed a lot of the stuff that was probably mentioned at every single table. For us, and I'm sure everyone else, we want to be transparent. We want you to be upfront. Whatever is being decided, take into what we as parents feel and the students feel. We believe that we just want to be transparent. We want to be told the truth. We can handle whatever's going to happen. We can make appropriate decisions when we know the truth of what's really going on. Safety. Obviously, safety is a very big issue in our district, especially this week. Safety about having our students prepared to know how to handle crisis and situations. Bullying is another huge thing that we all want to discuss, and we want to make sure, for whatever capacity that is, we're addressing it, and we're being supportive of that as well. Provide extracurricular activities, whether it's before school, after school, and things that are not just educational based, but community based as well. And we feel like our students are lacking in that area as well. So these were kind of our top 3 things, many things, but that was the key thing at this table.
Thank you.
For our discussion, which was, I would say, very rich, the main concern that came up initially was safety. I think that is evident just based on our current times and things that are happening within the nation. Another really important part for the table was the education piece, the footprint for DPS moving forward. There was an idea that Connie had made saying, you know, no matter, hopefully, the education piece does not decrease with this transition. Also with the transition, the idea of the unknown was a big fear, and also the hope that information would be so abundant for the parents and for the children and for the staff. Also, busing was a big thing that came up in conversation. Monitoring of the children, the drivers, routes, location pickups, times, all of those types of considerations. In addition to the decision change, location equality was important. You know, sort of systemic in regards to busing. How long is a child on a school bus? What is the food programs offered in the schools in regards to the time that a child arrives versus the time that they leave? And finally, there was also this idea of a hope where there would be less sports being, how do I say this, less sports, and sports would be more of a reward rather than something that's pushed for. So I think the first table mentioned a lowering of the GPA, not having that, and a more tailored approach to teaching. So again, the educational piece, the safety piece, and the busing piece, I would say, were the main factors.
Thank you. Thank you. Reporter for here.
Well, this starts sounding like a broken record, but this table felt that, in response to question number 1, that education and safety are clearly the most important factors, especially in light of this consideration about buildings. Buildings aren't the most important factor, education and safety are. Secondly, they're interested in a well-thought-through decision by the board. And so they would like to see the board consider a 5 to 10 year plan as part of whatever gets done here, so that it's not we're not back here in a couple of years doing the same thing again. And thirdly, this would fall under question 3 about their fears. The fears that the students might not feel safe or connected in a new environment if they lose their Meadowdale identity. And I read that as more than just a plug for the school. It's that this school gets into these people and the identity is just hugely important to them.
So good evening. In our table, we mentioned several of the things that have already been spoken to. As far as question 1 went, spoken to what's important to the children and the school they attend. Student safety has been spoken about earlier. Teaching and learning also was very important. The whole idea of making learning important or making it interesting, and then the ability to attend local schools. Big hope for the change, or biggest hope for change was, that was an interesting answer to that one. It was difficult for the people at my table to answer that because they would feel as if they had all the information necessary in order to make an informed decision. And that was really a major thought as went into many of the answers to these questions. Biggest fear about this change decision, decline in enrollment, possible gang interaction, increased truancy, declining attendance, decreased graduation rate, and increased morale amongst students, teachers, and faculty. Question 4 spoke to what they hope the district will consider. Perhaps that they will reconsider or speak to the attendance figures that were used in these particular thoughts. The location of open schools and relationship of the merged schools to one another, and transportation, specifically special needs students. Question 5 spoke to what an ideal school would sound like or look like. It would be one with high achievement, low in conflict, and would have buy-in of parents and students alike. And also, perhaps would have wider offering of sports. And finally, with the 6th question, as a district, how could DPS assist with the transition or making it as smooth as possible for the families involved? The main one was that the families be in agreement with the school board policy, that there's buy-in on both sides, and also a timely transition of these particular actions, and then just clear and concise information about what's going on would be something that parents and the stakeholders would definitely be interested in.
I'll move back here.
So our table, we are all teachers at Meadowdale, but our perspective is very similar to everyone else's. We were concerned, we said we thought the most important things about a school from a parent's perspective is that the school has highly qualified, caring teachers, and we want to make sure that that's consistent even with any changes that are made. And obviously safety. As everyone else has stated, safety is obviously a top concern. Stability and consistency. You know, a lot of us have been in the district for a while, and sometimes that's not always the case. We don't always have the consistency, and our children desperately need that. So we're hoping that we can keep some consistency and stability for the children. Another important thing for us as teachers, and I know it is for parents as well, is the class size. We're hoping that the classrooms aren't packed to maximum fire capacity just to meet the money requirements. We said our ideal class size would be 20 students. The culture of the building. All of us being educators here at Meadowdale, we're hoping that the culture doesn't change. You know, things here are looking up, and it's been very positive, and we've worked very hard to get it to that point, and we want to keep that culture and keep that positivity going. We also have a SIG grant here at Meadowdale, so we're receiving some money to do some really great work here, and we've put a lot of work in this year into making things better for the students and different programs for the children, and we're hoping that those efforts don't go by the wayside if changes are made. Again, safety is under all of those, but we said obviously the main concern and the overlying factors, that it's whatever's best for the students. And money shouldn't play a part, as I know it has to, but the comfort of the students, what they're getting out of their classrooms, are they getting some one-on-one attention? Are they getting, even the most basic needs met? We talked about, how hard it would be to get more students just through the cafeteria line. Are all of those things being thought about in the changes as well? So I think just meeting the students' needs from the most basic all the way up to the rigor and all of that.
This group.
With our group here, we had a nice little mixture group too. We had some parents, and we had grandparents, and we had people who have worked in the schools, who have a hand in teaching these kids and working with these kids. And so we had a lot of input, a lot of concerns about the transition, but we broke some of them down, some really important points that they made. And the first one is, what about more time for the data before you actually make these decisions? A lot of them feel like it was made very quickly, and so they're very concerned about these final decisions being made without them seeing the data, that they feel would really make them feel better about the transition. Another thing is parent involvement in the transition. The bottom line are the kids. What are we doing with the kids, and how are the kids handling this kind of transition? I heard a lot here where, we've got to face transitions here with like RTA bus service being cut. And, so now we've got to worry about how our kids are getting across town, how they're getting to school, and they have siblings who are watching out for these younger children, and how is that going to affect them if they're being bused all the way across town? So if their older siblings are not there to even help with that transition. So that not only affects those kids, it also affects the community and the family as a whole. Another thing is transparency, because they feel like a lot of things are secretive, the decisions that are being made. And so they really want some more transparency so they know what's going on and how these transitions are being made. And then another thing is the long-term vision for stability for the community. How is it going to affect them long-term, and how is it going to be stable in the community? Will it create stability, or will it create some chaos in the community? So they are concerned about those. Thank you.
Okay, our group consists of teachers and parents. So for us, our main concern was sense of community and family. We are trying to get the community and family members engaged in our students so they can have a sense of what's going on, and they can provide support for our kids. I think one of the biggest issues that we came up with, and I'm sure most people agree with, is transportation. As you know, transportation has been a huge issue for a lot of parents, including myself. And in fact, on a personal note, I've witnessed too many times where the bus has picked up my son late, or there's some type of issue going on involving transportation. So our concern regarding that is consistency and communication. We would like for the bus drivers or the dispatcher or whoever is in charge to communicate with the parents more and let us know what's going on. Another issue is safety. Kids have a right to be safe. You hear too much about bullying, including cyberbullying, physical bullying, and now shootings. Kids should feel safe going to school and leaving school. Number two, what is the biggest hope you have for the change decision? Basically, continued individual attention and support. We feel that the class sizes should be smaller, like minimum of about 15 students, so that they can get the individualized attention that they deserve. What is your biggest fear about the change decision? Basically that the students won't get the support that they need, and that the teachers and staff will lose their jobs. We were really concerned about that, so we just want to make sure that the teachers and staff still have jobs, even with this whole transition. What do you hope the district will consider? Children first. Children first. Children before politics, basically. Children should always come first. What would an ideal school sound like and look like? Basically, diversity. Diversity, have more involvement with parents, more parental involvement, especially male parents, fathers, male mentors. Consistency, transportation, of course, counseling,
Cultural diversity.
more cultural diversity and life skills, as well as music and band. Music is, I think, well, we all think that it's really important and vital for, as part of kids' learning. So that would be wonderful to have, more music classes and bands, choirs, orchestras, and arts such as drama, as well as community events, kids learning foreign languages, because now, we live in a global society where, languages, especially such as Spanish, is really popular, is really common. So, and definitely computer classes, because as kids get older, they're really forced to learn computers. So if kids don't learn computers, then they'll be lost in the working world. So, and finally, as a district, how can we make this transition as smooth as possible for your family? Basically, special needs kids being accommodated, as well as kids in general being accommodated. So we just want to make sure that all the students are accommodated, no matter what their educational level is, just that the students have a proper learning, and that everyone has a good education. So that's basically what we came up with.
I think this is the last group. Did I miss any groups? Last group. Reporter?
So the three things that our group thought was very important that we came up with was to make sure that they had high quality teachers who do not cut corners, with an administration who backs them, and make sure that they have the resources and tools that they need to provide the education to the kids. We would like to see them create a plan and stick with it and stop changing it. Create an environment where teachers and students feel supported so that they do come to school every day. And the transportation, like everyone else said, we feel that if you travel too far, families they won't feel involved. They need that neighborhood school center to feel like, they're actually a part of the community and a part of the education that their children are actually receiving. And we would also like them to take into effect the ripple effect, like what will actually happen to the students, to the community, if something like this was to close, if multiple buildings was to close, and how we'll actually get through it in the future.
I'd like to thank everyone for their input tonight and for spending time with with us and talking with us. And as I stated earlier, once we start the strategic planning process, the Board of Education starts that coming up soon, then we would like to have you come back and give input on that as well. Your input's valuable, it's appreciated, and we want to hear it, we want to have it. So thank you for coming tonight, and I do want to recognize that Dr. Walker, board member, arrived also and has been listening and hearing the conversation as well. So thank you all for coming, and again, mediators and scribes, thank you so much. Thank you for the food, parents, and there's still probably a little bit left in the media center if you'd like to stop by on your way out tonight. Thank you, be safe, and I appreciate all your time and opportunity tonight to speak.